Hey guys, welcome to another Trade Genius podcast. I got my good friend Bob Kudla here, and we are going to talk about leverage because there's a lot of it in the system. Let's dive in.
Trade Genius.
Bob, I think we have our fuel for the blow-off move.
Yeah, this is absolutely insane, the level of option open interest and option activity right now. And you remember a couple years ago when SoftBank was playing that call selling game that just lifted the market like a tractor beam until they stopped. And I think that's what's going to happen here is that the way these derivatives work, they can actually create their own weather short term until you get to a point where people are like, okay, this is good enough. And then they don't roll the call contracts. And that's what I'm worried about going into, February contracts. You start seeing this roll coming off in December. Then, the inauguration's coming up. You don't get the same amount of enthusiasm. The market makers then can sell their positions because they don't have to hedge it like they were. And let me explain that too. The reason why call selling does that is because the market makers have to kind of hedge, and they just basically they're buying the futures to keep it to keep themselves in balance. So it creates a vacuum, but that vacuum could turn off at any moment. So basically, you heard the thing of any given Friday. Well, any given Friday could be the end of a move, and so that's what you have to kind of pay attention to, Phil. And that's and I think right now, really the end, because we've moved off of tech now. Now, really, what's left is the Bitcoin complex. They're getting a lot of open interest. We've been trading that, obviously. And we're like, do we get one foot out the door like the Chinese Communist Party in China, and move our money to a safer haven?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel right now.
Yeah, I was looking for the options daily volume to start to expand, and we're definitely getting that. And if you look at Bitcoin, I'm going to switch over to that chart real quick. Currently we're taking out these fib targets. This is when you do Fibonacci pulls, you kind of want to look for a range that's being reactive, and this to me is a really valid range. And the next target we have is $112,176. So we're pretty close to that. Wouldn't be surprised to get it. Anything north of that, though, Bob, I think is bonus. Now, if we go full just nuclear blow off, which if there's anything that can do that, it is Bitcoin. I would be imploring you to take profits if we hit this upper line up at 172,296. I think realistically, time is more important than levels at this point, because once we get into that January time frame, I think you have to be very careful about a rug pull and a big pullback into March. So that's kind of the window here. If we can go vertical here, that's your top side target, 172. But right now, I think it's going to be something north of 112. And I think that's what we're going to see over the next couple of weeks as we go into that typical quote unquote Santa rally window. And I think everything's going to be up. I think IWM, to your point, I think IWM is going to actually catch up. And that's going to, if you notice, I noticed Bitcoin miners tend to kind of correlate with IWM more than anything else, even more than Bitcoin for some reason. So if IWM catches a bid here, which I think is a high probability in the next couple of days, watch for it to outperform SPX. And as a result, watch for these miners to start outperforming too as well.
Yeah. And I mean, and the other thing too is that, you're looking like a MicroStrategy that's tied to Bitcoin is that if it just maintains its ratio, you're looking at, move back up to 500,000. And I think at this point, probably a double top, and I think then it goes away unless we do get that true blow off. So, you got to dance while the dancing is good, but at the same time, just be smart about what you're doing, because other things are starting to get left in the dust here a little bit, and it's going to just get to the last of the alpha moves, and this whole thing could turn off tomorrow. Look at Monday and Tuesday. Nothing was moving. We couldn't find a trade to save our life, so that's how it's going to be. And we're going to go from having a lot of fun to being very sullen and not get any trades for sometimes weeks on end, unless you're willing to dip into the short side for some quick action, which most people aren't very good at. And I think then things will turn sour. So be interesting. Trump may get Main Street uncorked. At the same time, Wall Street then is going to, I think, feel the pain of these policies. That's all I got, Phil. Come trade with us, tradelikeagenius.com. It's just been amazing. Today's just been amazing. We're making weeks worth of money in a day, and you have to when this happens, because there's going to be weeks worth of trades that you can't take in this market, and you're going to have to just sit on your hands and just watch. So with that, Phil, that's all I got.
All right, guys, take care.
Trade Genius.